peoples. This is Mystic Jinx peeking in with my co-host today, Nosy. Hi, Nosy. How are you?
Hey, y'all.
I just want to say hi to everyone in the chat. Dark Side, Eric Banana Man, Alice, Linda, Christina, Jax,
yes.
everybody joining. Thank you today for joining us.
Yes, I see some folks already talking some smack, Yoris. I see you.
You weren't late. She was early. She was early.
I
So,
mean, you did have to text me and remind me, but
yeah, but I did that like 30 minutes early just in case. So make sure she was here on time.
I was.
So today I thought we would talk about Teresa's day planner. That was mentioned in Kathleen Zellner's motions, and it was also in the season 2 of Ma'am in episode 9, about 17 minutes in. She starts talking about the day planner. And Kathleen Zellner basically points to this day planner being in Teresa's RAV4 on the day that she goes missing, and that somehow Ryan Hilgas was able to get access to it, and it somehow points to Ryan Hilgas as being able to have access to her RAV4 after she had been missing. So I would like to go through some of that evidence today to show why I'm sorry, Kathleen Zellner, but I disagree. I shall be the devil's advocate.
That's okay. You
And
have everything to back up what you're trying to, like, your theory.
Right. So I do have evidence to show you guys. I have I made another IMGR to go through with you guys. There is a link below, along with all the links to everything that I have made little screenshots of what I needed from each of those records. So those records are linked below. So if you want to open the IMGR, you can follow along that way. If not, I will just start now. Sound good? Sounds good to me. Let me share my screen. We're going to select my window and allow it. Can you see my screen? This is the day planner that Kathleen Zellner introduced in one of her motions, and I think it was in June of 2017 that this is in. She mentions this day planner because this day planner is printed out from a computer program, and Teresa herself makes notes on this day planner. Some of the notes that I would like to go through are I've highlighted them according to color. All of the things I have highlighted are for each person. I've done Steve Speckman in blue. I've done Denise in pink, and Dan Marrow is in green. I bring him up only because this was a call she made during the same time, and she did write some notes on her day planner. I'll actually start with Dan. Dan Marrow is, let me share this screen. Dan Marrow made a call to Teresa at 11:25 a.m. Teresa, who hadn't really checked any of her emails until 11:04 a.m., is now getting a call from Daniel Marrow at 11:25. She doesn't answer it. She quickly checks her mail afterwards. He's the first call that she made at 11:31. And she does write notes. He was actually, Dan Marrow was actually an appointment she had on October 29th that had canceled. So this is him trying to reschedule his appointment. And from the looks of the day planner, it looks like she scheduled it for November 3rd. I don't think we have November 3rd's actual appointment schedule sheets or anything at this point. So I just wanted to mention him because he is written on there. I don't know if Kathleen Zellner has ever reached out to him to find out if he also says that she is in her car when she's taking these notes. Personally, I don't think so, and I will explain why. At 10:44, the morning of that morning of the 31st, Teresa gets a call from Denise Coakley, who is now Denise Heidel. She ends up giving an affidavit for Kathleen Zellner in 2017. She calls and leaves a message. She does not Teresa does not check her messages till about 11:04. And so she calls back Coakley Heidel right after she talked to Merrill, and she talked to Merrill for like 3 minutes. So she's talking to Denise Heidel. Denise Heidel's like, I need some pictures that I had done. I would like to pick some up. And then Teresa goes back to her day planner and puts in that she will see Denise at noon the next day on Tuesday, November 1st. Let's talk about Denise for a little bit. Denise, let's first talk about all of these 2112, 2112. This is the cell record for the pinging towers. This is where she's pinging during all of these calls all morning long. From the time she gets up at 11, or she's even pinging it at earlier in the day when all the calls are coming in. She's pinging this home tower, I call it, because it's by her house. So she's pinging this 2112 tower. This tower is on Schaefer Road in Sherwood, not far from where she's living. So I just want to point that out, that she is in her hometown, around her home, when she's receiving and taking all of these calls the morning of the 31st. Now, Coakley actually called into the Calumet County Sheriff's Department on the 8th. I'm going to play that call for you. It's very short. It's maybe a minute long. I'm just gonna share this, and we can hear what Denise Coakley says to the Sheriff's Department.
Calumet County Sheriff's Department.
Yes. I was given this number for John Beering.
Deary? No. Okay, he's out of the office. What do you need?
I had talked to the photographer Teresa on Monday morning at 11:35, and I just talked to her business associate Tom Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
And he just asked me to go ahead and let you guys know, so because you're trying to put a timeline together.
Okay. I'll switch you to his office.
Okay. Thank you.
So that's the whole call. We don't actually hear what she left as a message on the machine. We don't hear any more calls coming in or going from Denise Coakley that I am aware of. There may be, I'm not sure. This is the one that I recalled. She says that she called her at 11:30 and that she had talked to her on the phone. Now, Denise Coakley, they don't actually call Denise for any interviews until February 1st, 2007, okay? So this is right before the trial starts in 2007. Finally, the DCI contacts her. And what she tells the DCI is that she believed at around 11 a.m. that she had called Teresa to pick up proofs from Halbach's studio, which she made the appointment for the next day, and that she was driving and that she needed to pull over. Teresa was driving, so she needed to pull over and write down her appointment on this piece of paper that you see with the day planner. She just said that she was on her way to an appointment, and she didn't really say anything else, right? So, okay, so she says that now right before trial. What I want to mention too is this DCI record, I do not see it being given to the defense in the discovery that we have access to. It doesn't mean it wasn't given. It's just I haven't seen it in what we have been given. And then in 2017, it was June 23rd, I think she signed this affidavit. This is the affidavit by Denise Coakley, now Heidel. And she tells basically the same story, that she had called Teresa to schedule an appointment to pick up proofs, and that she believed that she was in her car and she had to pull over to write out her appointment on that piece of paper. So that is basically what this says, right? She checked her calendar and we scheduled an appointment for the following day at her studio, which we saw on the day planner for November 1st. Now, Coakley thinks that she was in the car at this time. I, however, think Coakley is mistaken, because we see that her tower records are at her house, right? I just showed you that at Sherwood. She's hitting the Sherwood Tower, not far from her house, where she's hitting it all morning long at her home. She also happens to be on the computer at 11:40, which I suspect is at her home, and she's mapping out her way that morning to from the Schmidt's residence, which was the one rescheduled appointment, and the zipper message, which she had in a lead sheet for in the morning. So she does map this out between 11:40 and 11:45. So this shows that she's at her home, not sitting in her car, not headed to send any appointments or anything like that. Shortly later, she's making more phone calls to other people, such as Janda, and she gets a few other calls. She's doing her stuff, getting her ready. And I'm just going to go back up to this record here and show the yellow up here. At 12:51, actually, let's talk about Speckman really quick. Speckman happened to call Auto Trader on the 31st also, looking for an appointment. Now, you can see here highlighted in blue that on the 31st at 12:43, these are the records for the total calls from Auto Trader, and this is Steve Speckman calling. He wants to make an appointment. He talks to them, and they must have given Teresa's number to Speckman, because at 12:45, go to this record, or at 12:44, 12:45, she gets an incoming call from Speckman on her cell phone. Teresa got a call from him. So where did he get the number? Obviously, Auto Trader is giving out her personal/business cell phone to people. And what I remember is there was no record of him actually making an appointment through Auto Trader. So it's like Auto Trader just said, here, call her and she can make a hustle appointment. Doesn't seem like they did what they did with Avery when he called and said, hey, I'd like an appointment. And they set it up and told him, it might be next week, but it might be today. We'll have to get in touch. They didn't do that with him. They just said, here, call Teresa. And he did. And that is the blue that's marked up here on this calendar in the bottom. She put Steve Sheboygan, Monday, 4-foot large moving truck, his phone number, 2 vehicles. Now it says Monday. Does that mean she was going to see him on Monday and that she was writing that down? Or does it mean, because it's underneath here, kind of like in the notes, or does it mean that she was planning on going out there the next Monday? I really couldn't tell you, right? So what he says when they finally talk to him, he doesn't call. He doesn't call anybody and say, hey, I had this conversation with Teresa on that day. No, he actually is outed by his friend. I have that call too. I can play that call. This call is about 3 minutes in. 3 minutes, it's kind of a little longer. I'll play it and we'll just listen to it, because I thought that she said a few interesting things.
Sheriff's Department.
Hi, is this the Mainford Police?
No, it's not. This is Calumet County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, I wonder if you want to connect me with the main SWAT police. A friend of mine took some pictures with the lady who was killed last Monday.
So what do you...
Junkyard.
Yeah, what about it?
Yeah, I need the police from main SWAT.
Okay, well, what is this in reference to, ma'am? Because we're the lead investigators on this case.
My friend's supposed to have the pictures with her the Monday she was killed. She missed the appointment, but maybe the police from main SWAT need some timing, like when she was like in Sheboygan, or that's not relevant, not important, or what?
Actually, we're the ones that will take that information.
Yeah, okay, well, what do you want to know?
Well, I guess, what do you got to tell me?
She was talking with him on the phone. She left Sheboygan around like 10, quarter after 11.
Sheboygan?
Because he didn't show up for the appointment, my friend.
She didn't show up?
My friend did not show up for the pictures appointment.
Okay.
So she was talking with him like 11:30. She was getting towards main SWAT, so maybe they need the timing or something. I don't know.
Okay. What is your name, ma'am?
Oh, my name is Iga, but the friend who was supposed to have the pictures is Steve Speckman.
How do you spell his last name?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce, but maybe they just want to know. And his name will be at the Plate magazine, the little brochure of sales, the vehicles.
Okay.
From Green Bay, the magazine, she was making pictures, vehicles.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe the police can check with the office and maybe the police call him. I don't want to tell him, I'm involved, but I was hearing one conversation. He was with her girlfriend last Thursday. She was asking him, some questions. Say, why you not contact police if she's missing for 4 days, you know? And on Friday, they was already on TV, so. But maybe the police want to know the framing, kind of, I don't know. Or they, whatever.
Okay, I will pass it on to the investigators. They can follow up on it.
Or you will think you will need the phone number, or not necessarily, or show
Do you have a phone number?
Yeah, I'm talking on the phone with you.
Do you have do you have that Steve's phone number?
See, again, I don't want him, like, right away. Maybe, well, they can always say they got this name from the Green Bay, yeah? Because I don't want he knows I call about it.
Well, did you just want us to look in the magazine to try to find his number?
Yeah, they do have it in Green Bay. They have his name, last name, and his phone number, you know. So tell them contact the Green Bay magazine for the sake, and then, you know, they can get all information.
Okay, I will pass it on.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Bye.
Okay, I hope you guys could all hear that. She basically says that Teresa and him talked early in the morning about 11 o'clock, and that she was already in Sheboygan, and by what did she say, 11:30, she was headed back to Manitowoc. What she says is her friend did not show up for the appointment, meaning her friend is Steve Speckman, the one that's on the day planner where she put Monday. So she calls and tells Calumet County about Steve Speckman. Speckman himself does not call. Speckman isn't talked to until February 1st, 2006, which I have that little record here too. Give me a second to pull that up. His is a little longer. He talks about that he made contact with Speckman and stated something to the effect that he was wondering, and Steve Speckman said to him something to the effect, wondering when and if he was going to be contacted by law enforcement. So he's like waiting for law enforcement to contact him, and it took them 2 months to contact him. And he advised that on October 31st, he had called Auto Trader, having a truck he was considering selling. He advised that while speaking with person, they got discussing about a jobs because his wife was interested. Speckman indicated that he was asking questions about that for that reason. And Auto Trader person told Speckman about Teresa Halbach, who takes the photos for them in Sheboygan area, but may have given up that area. Okay, the person from Auto Trader also provided Speckman with Teresa Halbach's phone number so that he might arrange for her to take a photograph for his vehicle. And the Auto Trader person told Speckman that Halbach takes those pictures in that area every Monday. So Speckman advised to call Halbach, did, and he thought it was around 11 a.m. He said that making contact with Halbach, she advised that she had already left Sheboygan and was headed north already. Speckman advised that he spoke with Halbach for a little while and told her that he had a 24-foot truck, she only put 4, as well as the vehicle he originally called about, and asked if she could take photos of both, and she had advised that she could do that. Speckman advised he told her that he decided by the next Monday if he wanted both vehicles photographed. Speckman said that he told her that he for sure wanted the original vehicle done. So what he's saying is he was going to plan on it for the next Monday, it sounds like, and that's why it's in the notes. Speckman advised that on either Wednesday or Thursday of that same week, he received a call from a young male who sounded somewhat like he had an attitude or somewhat cocky and authoritative. The male subject asked Speckman about Teresa Halbach and that she was taking pictures with him, and the male subject asked Speckman where she was. Speckman said that he didn't initially know what the male subject was talking about and asked who Teresa was. I left that in there because Speckman calls on the 3rd after Scott Bladorn called him. But before that, I just want to make a mention that this call was at like 12:45 in the afternoon, and she could have been in her car. He says she was in the Sheboygan area. Now, we know that must be mistaken by the 21112 tower, which is in Sherwood, that she's not in Sheboygan. But she may have been in her car, because at 12:51, This yellow one right here is where she calls Schmitz. Schmitz is the very first appointment she had that day. Schmitz, that's his recollection. She called him to tell him that she was on her way for the reschedule that they had done on, because he didn't have his appointment on Saturday. So at this point, Teresa really could have been in her car, and we don't really know the timeline. According to KZ in the Ma'am 2 episode 9, at about 17 minutes in, she talks about this day planner and how this means that she wouldn't have had time to leave it at home if she had been in the car.
Deborah Cobb asked, how far would Teresa have to go from her home before her cell towers switch?
I am not sure of that, Sapper Cop. I'm not 100% sure. I'm guessing that there's like towers in the area. I would guess that if she was in Sheboygan, she would not be hitting this tower. That is my guess. And I think that's a very positive guess, because Sheboygan is like, 30 miles, 40 miles from where she's at. And we see that she's hitting Manitowoc towers later on in the day when she's actually out there. So I'm assuming she's at home. She may have been in her car for Coakley. I don't think she was, but she may have been out getting breakfast or coffee or something to that effect.
Sherry Lynn says Speckman could have been a hot shot for that day.
It sounds like it might have been a hustle shot, because they don't have any record of ever making an appointment, even for the other car at Auto Trader. They just gave her.
Hot shot. I'm in a.
It's a hustle shot. They call it a hustle shot. Yeah.
Hot shot, hustle shot, whatever.
So it's a possibility that she was in her car in the area, but she was in the area of her home. She wasn't, she wasn't headed to her appointment. We know she wasn't headed to her appointment until 12:51. We know she was at her computer at 11:40 to 11:45, just after she hung up with Coakley. So it's more likely that she might be mistaken. Maybe Teresa just told her that, so she didn't think that she was sitting at her house in the middle of the day.
Is there a tower near the quarry?
There is a tower that is actually closer to Avery's house that she hits on the 10th. That is like right where Bobby's tower is, that he hits on the 3rd or on the 31st.
There you go, William.
But she don't hit that tower on the 31st, by the way.
And
now where was I? So Speckman is basically an appointment she seems to be making for the next following Monday. And she wasn't in Sheboygan, so he's mistaken about that. What he might not be mistaken about is the phone being in her car with her day planner. We just can't really be sure, because there's nothing else to prove otherwise. And like Kathleen Zellner says, she's got a timeline that says that this has to be in her car at that time, and that there was no way for her to turn around and bring it back and leave it on her desk. And now it is Scott Blodorn who tells investigators that he did find it on her desk. I'm just going to make this. You can't make this one bigger. This is Kathleen Zellner right here in this middle right here is when she says. The Guilters like to say that Stephen Avery was the one who called Teresa, or Auto Trader, saying that Teresa never showed up for her appointment on the 31st. That wasn't Stephen Avery. It was Stephen Speckman, and there's proof of that. So we'll discuss that too. In January of 2006, January 13th, they do reach out to both Blodorn and Hilgas. They are interviewed again together, and they were asked about the telephone calls that they had made on Thursday, November 3rd, while trying to locate Teresa Halbach. The reason they're doing this is because there is a Rachel Higgs that is in the DCI and in the Calumet County records. I don't have those links, and I didn't clip anything, but she's basically accusing Stephen Avery of being this caller. So they're looking into it. So Blodorn said that sometime between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. that day, he had located a schedule for 5 days that was from Outlook on her computer. Blodorn advised that there was a number at the bottom of the page with writing showing something to the effect of near Manitowoc. It actually said Sheboygan, Stephen Sheboygan, not Manitowoc. Blodorn said he called the telephone number and spoke with a male who said he knew nothing of Halbach and Auto Trader or anything else. So he's basically saying that this Steve doesn't know who Halbach is, Auto Trader, or anything like that. And then, and I'm going to show you at 4:10, he does call Speckman. He calls Ryan to tell her that he's missing, and he calls Speckman at 4:10 shortly after he talked to Ryan. This is Blodorn's record. I do link it. It is in the bottom. These are newer records from Emerging Truth on Twitter. We thank her for them. So now he's the one calling Speckman, accusing him of not showing up, and that he did something to Teresa. That was part of this whole thing. Shortly after he called, Scott called Sheboygan Steve Speckman in on the 3rd. Speckman immediately called Auto Trader and talked to that Rachel Higgs, and you can see that on this thing. He called at 4:13, and he called again at 4:17, because in his actual comments to the DCI records, or the DCI people, he says that he had received a call from a young male that had that attitude. Speckman advised that he had telephoned Auto Trader magazine within 5 minutes or right away after that call. He advised that he was knowledgeable that Teresa was missing, and he described their mood as somber. The people from Auto Trader told him they were already in touch with the police. Speckman said that he told Auto Trader that Halbach had never showed up, and that he had spoken to her and she was already heading in a different direction, and that he was supposed to reschedule the appointment. Speckman said that an hour or so after he had hung up with Auto Trader, a female subject who indicated she was a friend of Halbach's had telephoned him. That was Kelly Pitson. That we have a record too of. So the people who are calling him are Kelly Pitson and Scott Blodorn, and they're calling him because of this day planner. Now it's actually Kelly Pitson who puts the day planner in Ryan's hands, and she says after arriving, he'll guess. This is on the, what did I say this was? I didn't date this one. This is shortly after. It's also January of 2006. In the DCI records. He said he had found a schedule of Halbach's for a week of November 31st to November 6th that had a telephone number on it, and Hilgas had called the number. Pitson believed the number was a spot that Teresa Halbach had made a stop that she had made in New Holstein. Pitson advised that the person Hilgas spoke to was a male subject. Now, so she's placing this day planner as Ryan finding it. Now, we know from phone records that Ryan was called these are Ryan's records, at 4:06. So we know Scott's calling him at 4:06 saying, hey, Teresa's missing. He calls at 4:09. He calls Teresa, Ryan does, and doesn't get an answer because she's missing. He immediately calls Pitson at 4:10 p.m. This is at the same time that Scott Blodorn is calling Speckman. So we know that it can't be Ryan using Scott's phone to call, because he's calling Pitson at the same exact time. I don't think they had yet met at her home. This is right before they actually all go and meet. So what does that say? It says that Blodorn was actually the one in possession of this day planner, that Kathleen Zellner saying that Ryan must have gotten it out of her car. She does say that Scott Blodorn found it first. She does, yours. I see your comment. It's just, she also says a lot of other stuff shortly after that about it must have been in the car and Ryan found it. Ryan somehow got access to it. However, this evidence shows Ryan didn't get it until after Scott Blodorn, until after they went to Teresa's house. And we can prove Scott Blodorn had it shortly after she called Ryan at 4:10. So if anybody took it from her car, if it was actually in her car when she took off to go to Schmidt's at 12:51, and that was in her car, then it would be Scott Blodorn, unless somebody had access to her house that could have left it on her desk. Or Scott Blodorn found it on her desk where he says it was, and it wasn't actually in her car. And is it a possibility that she left it at home on her desk? I think it is, because the call for Speckman isn't the call for Speckman is before she told Schmitz that she was headed her way. So it's very possible that she was still in her house with the cell phone towers still hitting an area near her house, that she just left that day planner on her desk.
And didn't Ryan testify that he found it in the car?
I didn't see testimony of him finding it in the car. No, that is just speculation on I think on Kathleen Zellner's part
Okay,
and her
then
theory.
what was Scott B's alibi for the day Teresa went missing?
That's very funny because we all know that they didn't ask anybody for an alibi that knew Teresa Halbach. They didn't ask Scott for one. They didn't ask Ryan for one. Every time they talked to Scott and Ryan, they talked to Scott and Ryan. They did not talk to them separately. All of their reports are like, oh, Scott was in the same room as me. Oh, Ryan was in the same room with me. There was no actual separation of these two to actually interview them to see if their stories differed from each other.
And then Yoris said she did not need the day planner, and Sherry Lynn, yes, that's basically Jinx's theory is that she did make it home. And who else?
My theory is not that she made it home. I'm saying my theory is it's a possibility that she made it home and left it on her desk. It's also a possibility that she left it on her desk that morning before she left. It's also a possibility that it was in her car and that the first person to gain access to it was Scott Blodorn, not Ryan Hilgas, which would then place Scott Blodorn as having some kind of nefarious actions with the RAV4.
Dark Side, yes, they did have Scott's fingerprints.
They do have Scott's fingerprints. They did not. They had him. They did. I do think they did rule him out from the ones on the car and the license plates. I do believe he has been ruled out as a contributor of those. But that's it. Not his DNA, just his fingerprints.
Are you reading the comments?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. ODog123. MapQuest searches on her laptop at 11:45 convinced me she was home, since her laptop was still at home.
Right, her laptop was still at home as well. So it she was doing her mapping at 11:40 just after Coakley. So I think Coakley's mistaken in some of her affidavit. I think Speckman's mistaken. We obviously know she was not anywhere near Sheboygan. She may have said that she was headed to Manitowoc. He said headed up north. The other girl said headed to Manitowoc. And so, yeah, I mean, the weekly planner, McManning, was most likely on her desk when Scott Blodorn found it. It's just a question of how did it get there and when did it get there. And there's no definitive answer, in my opinion, to this being anything to do with Ryan planting a vehicle. Sadly, I wish it did, because, everyone knows that he's my prime suspect.
Iced coffee, yes, that it does blow everyone's mind, but it also blows my mind that Ryan moved in.
Oh, yes, for possible suspects.
Yes.
Everyone knows that the very first people you should look at when somebody goes missing is the people that are around Teresa, the people closest to Teresa, and they kind of just blew that completely off. Now, they say it's because they found her car on the property. Well, you know what? They didn't find her car on the property until 2 days after she was reported missing. So what is their excuse for not questioning these people the first 2 days as possible suspects in a disappearance?
Because they immediately asked if Stephen was in custody,
Well, yeah, exactly. Mr. Jacobs, my favorite man in the world. So what are your guys' thoughts? You guys think the day planner, she made it home? I mean, she technically had almost 2 hours. By my timeline, she was at Zippers last around 2:50 or so, 2:40, 2:50. And then she could have made it home before that non-pinging call at 4:35, an hour and a half later from Avery. And so there's a possibility she made it home. But then who had access to her at home if she did make it home? And when? That night? The first? The second? The third? Who lived with her? Blodorn. Who was close to Blodorn and spending time over there all the time? Well, that was Ryan. Oh, by the way, let's point this out, too. I'm just going to scroll right all the way back up here. Ryan testifies that he doesn't know whether or not he saw her in the morning or the noon or night, but he does testify that she was in front of her computer right? And that he was dropping something off for Blodorn. We don't know what he dropped off, if Blodorn was even there. We don't know where her computer was in her home. But what we can tell at the bottom of this Outlook, it says Teresa's name, and it says when it was printed out. It was printed out on 10/30/2005 at 10:29 p.m. And we know on Sunday that she's supposedly going to church. So church was probably around 11 o'clock. She had her grandfather's birthday party probably around 1 to 4. She's home a little bit, or at least hitting her home tower about 5 o'clock. But at 7, she goes to watch all these shows with her sisters, Extreme Makeover, Home Edition, Desperate Housewives, whatever's on Channel 7 from 7 to 10 at night. So she's over there. So she's not getting home till like 10:30, and she's printing out this thing. Is this when Ryan sees her in front of her computer? Is that why he doesn't want to say if it was morning, noon, or night? Because what the fuck would he have been doing there at 10:30 at night, dropping something off for Scott Blodorn, who works early in the mornings? From what I understand, he's out to work early, like 5 o'clock in the morning. So why is he dropping something off with her so late at night? Or did he see her on the computer the day before when she was, or on the actual day when she's printing out her directions on? You're funny.
Also, you know, if she had this...
I did not join Tinder, even though Jazz Naz tried to get me to.
No.
J-Jax.
Yeah, he did. Tinder, how awful.
All of those records for Teresa's minutes, including the one that they printed out at 5-something, which was after the Speckman call. They wouldn't have had that call until afterwards unless they had this sheet. Those are all linked below. I try to link all of my resources so that there's no confusion. Please, if you find an error in my stuff, please don't hesitate to tell me. I'll be happy to correct what I can find as an error. I'm not perfect, okay?
Says who?
I don't know. Anyone.
Christina Townsend says, I don't think the day planner can help us because we just don't know enough to say anything conclusively.
Correct. I'm with Christina. I think it's not definitive on whether or not it was in her car, where it was, how Scott Blodorn came in possession of it before anybody else. There's too many questions there and not enough answers. So as much as I would have loved for this to be like the smoking gun, Ryan Hillgas in the RAB after she went missing. Yes, we need this. Yes. If this had actually gone to a hearing, I think the state would have been able to prove that she was mistaken. I don't think she's lying. I don't think she's purposely lying. I just think she's mistaken, or Teresa, misled her to believe that she was already out and about because she doesn't want to say, hey, look, I'm at home. It's just there's too much questions still surrounding it to say that Ryan was in her car.
I do still think if at the time had they been allowed to present any suspects, certain things about the day planner and ways that they could have spun the situation or the circumstance, had they had the information or been allowed to, it still brings up, motive and possible other suspects. But as far as like catching the killer, I definitely never thought that,
Well, what about Sheboygan Steve? Like his friend says he did not show up to the appointment. Like he actually had one. Why would he deny showing up to a why would he then deny even having an appointment? Then they never really looked at him. And she does write Monday. She is talking about going out there. He does call Auto Trader. Auto Trader just gives her number away, doesn't actually make an appointment. If anybody was going to actually lure her to her disappearance, this would be a guy that could do that with a 24-foot truck, no less.
Yeah.
And they don't even question him or look at him or they talked to him one time in January of 2006, only because they've got to prove, like, it would have been great for them if it was Steve and Avery who was calling and saying she didn't make the appointment, because hell, that would help their case, but that was not the case here. It was Steve Speckman, and it was Scott Blodorn. And Scott Blodorn supposedly accused him, according to Rachel Higgs, that he had done something to Teresa. And why would Scott Blodorn, who doesn't know what happened to Teresa, call this Steve and accuse him of doing something to Teresa? Did he think that Steve was Avery? And then again, how did he know that she even had an appointment with Avery? So I think it calls into question not only Steve Speckman and why he wasn't looked at more closely, but also Scott Blodorn, her roommate.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Sherry Lynn says, Ryan was so proud of himself for breaking into her computer, and they weren't even getting along. He was possibly harassing her by phone. I just want to say, while I was researching some of the clips I needed, I went through some of the screenshots I needed. I went through the new CASO, the CASO 2.0, as I call it, from 2017 that they opened. And they do talk to Tom Pierce, and there was something in there that Tom Pierce said, and he says that he believes that Ryan was possibly the one harassing her on the phone, and that he was possibly abusive to her, and that that abuse, he was not sure if it was actually physical abuse or actual verbal abuse or some sort. So he doesn't really know, but he does go out and say that he thought it was Ryan in the Calumet County 2.0 report. So I thought that was kind of interesting when I scrolled past it. I think it was yesterday that I scrolled past it. I saved a clipping for that. I was going to talk about that another day, but well, here we are.
They're saying Steve Speckman should have definitely been looked to. Ice Coffee said, on which day does Karen say she drove by her house and her garage was open and the car was gone? I don't recall.
I believe that was something he says in Reels, which is a crap show that they did on this case called Murder Made Me Famous about Stephen Avery, and it was a hunk of junk in my opinion. But there is an interesting clip. I do have the clip on my YouTube channel where Tom Pierce talks about how when he called Halbach's mom, Karen, that when he told her that she hadn't showed up or anything, that she had said to him on that call, this has to be the third, that Teresa's garage door was open and her RAV4 was not in it. And but that was something he said later and not back then. Same with the whole Ryan being, like, they skipped around that in trial. He doesn't know who it is. Like, first in Tom's first recollection, he says she knows who it is, but he won't tell her. At trial, he says she didn't know who it was at all. But I'm gonna have to go with his first recollection, that she knew who was calling her, and she was just not answering the phone for whatever reason, because she didn't want to talk to that person, whoever that person was. And I do believe it was Ryan too. I will do a Ryan video. I think he's going to be a little more complicated and longer. I want to pull all the stuff about him. I find him interesting. I find their relationship interesting. I find the calls he's making and she's making in October very interesting. Some of the comments she makes in her emails back and forth to some of her friends. Ryan's an interesting person. I definitely have my eye on him.
Well, I think Ryan is interesting way beyond of just like what we know from Ma'am and what has been discovered, but all of the stuff that you linked from Peg L to his father, that blows my mind. And a lot of people don't know that.
Oh, yes. There is a connection between Peg Lautenschlager and Mark Hilgas, which is Ryan's father from in the 80s, in the mid-80s. And Ryan's father was given immunity to testify against someone else for 11 felony charges of banking fraud or mortgage fraud or some sort of stuff like that. Yeah, I think I'll do a video on Ryan in the coming days. I was going to read Teresa Halbach's journal that I had FOIA'd a few years back, and give a couple of, I'll just read the whole journal, I guess. Maybe I'll make that a premiere and just discuss a few key points in there that, people were kind of upset when I FOIA'd it and actually got a copy of it, because
Who gives a shit?
it doesn't really say a lot of stuff in there that can actually help the case. But at the same time, people won't know that unless they read it. So I was all for everybody reading it. I don't have the link for that one right now, but when I do the video, I will link all of that stuff to it. You can find it under journal, under the search on foulplay.site, if anybody's interested
There's
in reading
a lot
it
of
now.
new people, Jinxie, since, you FOI'd that. There's a lot of new people that won't know the connections in there and stuff like that.
Well, a lot of the groups on Facebook would not allow the journal to be put into their group. So a lot of people don't know about it. So this would be a good place for me to put it out there. We can read it. It's about 27 pages long, just for the 2005. And then another day I'll do a Ryan video
And
talk about
when
all
you
of
do the
the stuff
Ryan
I found.
video, just make sure you send me the link and I will send it directly to him.
Oh, great. I will definitely not be sending you the link.
Whatever. I'm going to be live with you.
Why didn't you send him this one? This one was about him too in a lot of ways.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to make sure.
Just get on it. I mean.
I want to make sure he doesn't block me. So, ooh, wow. Anthony Hills. Where is Ryan today? Somewhere living free.
That's correct.
He's still in Wisconsin.
He is still in the Milwaukee area. He still works for a Milwaukee hospital, I do believe. He still works there. He just had his license renewed within the past year or so. He's up for another nurse's license, reinstatement. I don't know what they call that, reapplying. I think in the 2022. So he is on Facebook. He is still around. I mean, we know that Kathleen Zellner tried to reach out to him a couple times and he refused to talk to her. Same with Scott Pladorn.
I'm going to make him my best friend. I'm not going to get murdered, though. Get him to talk.
Eric Man says, KZ on MAM 2 about check. So if we start with who, the married man who's getting a divorce, that she had a sexual relationship, and then a friend of hers described that she wanted to break that off, but he kept calling her. Yes, that's another possibility for a stalker call. However, we do not see a lot of these calls on her phone record from him. So unless he's texting her and not calling her, I have to question that. We do also know that she took naked pictures, or maybe not naked, but boudoir pictures of him and his wife when they were still married, and then that she had a sexual relationship with this man while he's just separated.
Didn't the wife get pissed about it or whatever? I have always had that teeny tiny little theory in the back of my head, like she could have been a scorned woman and somehow got away with it.
That's another thing they never looked into. There was a court case for them being divorced where she wanted the pictures and what do they call them when they're not the pictures, the the ones that you make pictures out of later. I can't think of the name right now. It's going to drive me nuts. What are they called? Somebody help me out here. She wanted all of it. She didn't want Teresa to be able to redo these pictures at any time.
Kim, Kratz last year on Twitter, year before, I can't remember, but he did give Ryan a whole ass alibi. Working at a job he didn't have, somewhere with a girlfriend he didn't have.
Negatives. Thank you.
That he was, negatives. That he was away in like Milwaukee, which if you go back, Ryan does admit that he didn't have a job. He was living at home with his parents, and you can look in his call logs. He was actually calling about his license during, I don't know what days, Jinxie, but he was calling about his license during the time.
On November 1st, he calls. He makes like 4 or 5 calls that day. 3 or 4 of them are to the license board questioning, I'm guessing, where his license is. Maybe questioning other things, like what happens if I get accused of a crime? Do I still get my license if I commit a crime? Or who knows what he was asking, but he still wasn't licensed until December of that year of 2005, so he could have just innocently been on the first of the month been asking about if he got his license yet, or even where he's going. But he doesn't make a lot of calls that day. There's a very long pause between the calls on the 31st and the calls he starts making on the 1st, giving him a long time to be doing whatever the hell he wanted, and nobody ever asking what the hell he was doing. And then he calls Teresa that day, and the call is about 4 seconds long, according to Teresa's. It's about a minute on his phone. We can't really be sure if it wasn't rounded up or not, but this would have been a perfect opportunity for someone between the first and the second, when he says the calls were full, the voicemail was full, and the morning of the second, when the sister leaves a message. This is the only record we have is of this. We don't know if anybody called in the morning hours of the second, but he would have been the last caller on the first, and it's a possibility that if somebody deleted her messages before the second, it would have been Ryan, in my opinion. So, yes.
Yeah. Because he also, I don't remember what we were talking about during one of our thousands of conversations, but if Ryan knew her password, if he did, for whatever reason, back in the day, like typically you could log in online with the same password, and you could mark.
That's right.
You can mark voicemails, mark them as read, or delete them from your computer. So he could have been tracking her.
Now Ryan does call singular the night of that. So if he does call them and tries to get into her voice or her emails or voicemail that way, he's doing that, in my opinion, because he can't just go and show Kelly Pitson and Scott Bladorn and all these people that I just have her email, I just have her password. I've had her password for years. We don't.
Man said KZ told you all the killer was close to Avery.
And KZ also once told us in a tweet that it was nobody on the Avery property. So there is a conflicting statement from KZ. And as much as I want to just take what she says as gold, I am a person of visual aids, and she could tell me all she wants unless she can show me. I still suspect Ryan more so than Bobby. So that's which I mean I
really
hate to say that about Kathleen Zellner, because I think she's a great fucking lawyer, and I think she's going to do Stephen wonders and get him off eventually.
Right.
But at the same time, she is just a lawyer. She is not going to come out and tell you everything that she may know, especially if she can't use it right now, because it's something from behind, or that something would be procedurally barred. I'm sorry, what?
She doesn't have to prove who the actual killer is,
No, she doesn't. She would like to, I'm sure, as that's what she does. However, she does not need to prove it. She only needs to prove motive, opportunity, and means, I believe it is, for someone else to have done it, and she can bring in as many Denny suspects as she can meet those 3 prongs with. So, Ryan, Bobby, which one did it? That's up for debate, right? That's what we're doing here. So.
Let's see. The fact that Ryan saw her in a cowgirl suit, then can't recall the time, then moves in with Scott, following her to the screen. Yeah, I agree, and that's why it's very suspect. Did
anyone ever look in Teresa's bedroom, her home, anywhere, for that cowgirl outfit? That is something that bothers me, because she's missing on Halloween. Had she made it home, left the day planner on her desk, did she then get dressed to go to a party in her costume, and is it missing?
Because she could have gone missing in that costume.
She could have been wearing the costume when she went missing. And if that costume was not at her home on the 31st, there would be a good question on whether or not she was wearing it that night. But nobody ever asked.
True. And then if Ryan was in the statement saying that he saw her in it and no one else did, then that would have been another reason to look at him as well.
And the problem with Ryan is, See, I want to do a whole video on Ryan alone. The problem with Ryan is Ryan doesn't say that at first. Ryan says exactly what Scott Blodorn said the first time. Scott Blodorn's like, oh, I talked to her on Sunday night, and we talked about the parties that we had gone to on over the weekend for Halloween. You know, whatever. And then they talked to Ryan the next day, and Scott was with Ryan when Scott gave that description. So what is Ryan's description in the CASO? I saw her on Sunday. We talked about parties. That's it. It was basically repeating exactly what Scott said. Now on I think it was November 14th in the paper, there is an article where they go and they meet with Teresa's friends. They're all sitting at Teresa's house and they're discussing stuff about Teresa, remembering her. And I think it was Aubrey Walgrek, or one of the girls that was there, had said that she last saw Teresa Halbach on the 21st at a Halloween party where she was dressed as a cowgirl. Now, Ryan doesn't repeat that cowgirl outfit until I think it's April or May of 2006 when he is asked for some input on an article in a Milwaukee magazine called Blood Simple or Milwaukee Paper. And that is where he says that she was wearing the cowgirl suit. So that's the first place. So what he's doing is taking little small tidbits of facts from other people and kind of weaving them into his own stories. Now, why is he doing that? Why is he not just being honest about what his recollection is? This is his best friend, supposedly, and he can barely even tell you when he last saw her, morning, noon, or night, on the day before she goes missing. There's a lot of questions with him that really bother me.
And Mick Manning said regarding the body, if RH is who did it, who cut her up and burned her, not Ryan, in his opinion.
Okay. And Kim Hogan also asks, did RH or SB hunt? How would they have known how to cut a body? Now, I don't know what the Boy Scouts actually teaches you to do in the woods, whether you are learn to hunt for food. I would think that is part of it. Ryan was an Eagle Scout. He went all the way up the Boy Scouts. He went all the way up into Eagle Scout. Part of him being an Eagle Scout was he made a haunted trail for a Halloween for the high school one year. And I found that interesting too. One of the years around Halloween, they ask him, he's in college, what scares him? He says women do. And how did he say that? He's scared of women. Why? Because they're evil.
Yeah.
Because they are evil. That's an interesting statement to made around Halloween another year. Seems like Halloween seems to be like something kind of special to him, maybe, huh?
Yeah, and then it'll go, and then I already know the questions that are going to start flowing in. Cause it's like, well, how'd Ryan get the bones onto the property, and how, it goes into, like I said, I feel like that's a big rabbit hole, but with Ryan's father's connections, which you can talk about that during Ryan's video, but you start to, if you look at Ryan's phone calls with what we've talked about and who he called, and then you start to go into those connections or whatever, it could very easily play out that way for Ryan, I think.
Right.
But
there's also another woman Ryan was calling that starts in the middle of October that I'd probably bring up in my Ryan video. You know who I'm talking about, Nosy.
Yes, I do. Yeah. Which she drives me nuts, and I've never even talked to her yet.
Somebody's asking, where is Scott today? I don't know who asked that. Somebody did. And somebody asked about Scott and Ryan being nurses. Scott is not a nurse. I am not quite sure what he does for a living. I know that he's very into these Evo drums or these bongo drums that you bang on. He's like, they're all over his Facebook.
He makes them.
I think he makes them. And I do believe he is still in Wisconsin living. He's married, has kids. He lives in the Madison area of Wisconsin, as from what I understand or what I have seen in the past few years. Whether or not he's there still, I don't know. I'm guessing he probably is. And he's still friends with Ryan. There's still comments on each other's pages. like stupid
Man, I've
comments
seen
too
his
about
wife.
farting on pillows and how that causes pink eye and weird shit like that. So
Scott's wife, she's on Facebook, but she doesn't go by Blodorn's last name.
no, she's Breckenheimer.
Okay,
Is
God.
that the sis? Oh no, the wife? No, she's yeah, she's been changing her names quite a few times. Probably because she knows people were looking for her and Scott and stuff. That's my guess. I'm sure people reached out. I'm not one to go reach out to these people on Facebook. I'll look at their pages. I'll stalk them a little bit
I do
out
that.
of curiosity. I don't tend to really write a lot of people in this case.
Mick Manning, he probably didn't have knowledge of Corey's, but that's more of like going into the theory if you are considering how his dad is connected to Peg, however the fuck you say her name, Logenschlager.
The thing with the quarries is what knowledge would he have to have for quarries if, in fact, they let's say one of those two are the killers and they just left her body in the back of the RAV near Zipperers when they called in the plates. Let's say that is the scenario. And what would they need to know about the quarry for if it's actually a second crime happening with the police department or the sheriff's department, who now is trying to frame a man that they tried to frame in the 80s, except in the 80s they had hair and nail clippings and everything else for him to later be freed. So I could see somebody who wants to plant this evidence on his property to frame him, that they wouldn't want any of that physical evidence to be present on a body. So I could actually see the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department using the Manitowoc County quarry to get rid of remains so that they can easily plant them on Avery's property or near Avery's property. But that's just an opinion.
I've always wondered, on Cuss Road, if her body was just dumped there. Because if, let's say the Ryan theory worked out or whatever, why he would go there and dump it, I don't know. How it would get there, I don't know, or anything like that. But I've always wondered if her body was dumped there. And animals got a hold of it or whatever, and the cops saw that as an opportunity to cover it up, get rid of the body, and then that's how they dispersed, the different piles of shit everywhere.
Right, I believe that she was probably burned in a barrel, and as they're moving the barrel, like maybe she was dumped on Cuss Road to just get her out of the car so they could plant the car before they burned her body, get that in some situation. They take her body from Cuss Road, put her in a barrel, burn her somewhere in the quarry, and then they're moving it around, and I can see little bones coming out the little air holes at the bottom of a barrel when you're burning. You got to have the oxygen flow. So I could see little tiny fragments of bones. All the bones are very tiny, just falling out of the barrel as they're moving the barrel closer to the deer camp or closer to Avery salvage. The bone that they supposedly find first is like 8 feet south of the fire pit, which is another bone that could have fallen out when they were trying to plant these bones from a barrel and tipping it over into his property. It could have fallen out of the barrel on the way to, from the south of his pit.
I agree too, Eric. Banana Man, shallow grave where the dog pit, blue tar, moss. I agree.
What did you say? You totally broke up there.
Oh, you were talking about my Wi-Fi. I'm picking up.
Well, that's because you're breaking up.
Am I?
Yeah, you're a little robotic, a little bit.
All right.
Should I go robotic?
I may have to go back out and come back in. Is it any better?
You could try that.
All right, be right back.
Let's wait for her to come back for a minute. She had a giggle grunt. Oh shit. She's not coming back. She's like, I'm leaving then. So what else do you guys want to know? Anything else? We'll save some of my Ryan stuff for another day. He's been my top suspect since January 2016, really. Oh, Sherry, you're right. There should be some body fat, a fatty mess, a black tarish type stuff that happens when you burn a body. It is not in the pit. I don't even know if it was in the actual quarry or anywhere else. Here, we got Nosy back. Here, because Nosy's live, I shall be live.
Oh, hello.
Oh, you can't see me because my camera's too high. Hello, I'm down here. I'm just peeking in.
Peek, peek, peek.
Peeking
peek,
in.
peek. Oh, I'm like real close. Hello.
Here, you want to see my shirt? It's my rally shirt I wore this year.
I'm wearing a Scooby-Doo shirt.
Mystic Jinx. So are we done then? Should I turn us off? Should we go head out? It's hot in this house.
It's hot outside. Do y'all have any more questions? I mean, this is gonna end up being a whole Ask Ryan video if we keep going. It will be the Ryan video.
Shit, nobody saw that. Shh.
I saw it.
Nobody did. I'm gonna have to edit this video now.
Hello, Miss Piggy.
Hi, Miss Piggy. No, you're naughty, Eric. Naughty, Banana Man. You
What's wrong
take
with
it.
you?
You take it to Discord.
Right? Like, there's a whole room for that. Global warming, Miss Piggy can't. Okay. He said please this time. Go ahead, Jinx.
Yeah, let me just get right on that for you, Banana Man.
So when can we expect this Ryan video?
Here, I'm lifting it higher. Was that good? Good enough for you there, buddy?
When's this Ryan video coming out?
I don't know. When should I do Ryan? I was going to do the journal first.
Okay. Do that.
Oh, I should do a thing on Kathy Wilford too, Hugh. I once thought, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I was wrong about it. I once thought that Kathy Wilford was just making it up that she saw Avery because of what I was seeing in the records. Recently, with Rookie on Twitter and Yora's, they both received a lot of these DCI records via FOIAs, and there is some in there about Kathy Wilford and her appointment in January. And I believe I did even see a record for her going out there, like a lead sheet like Teresa had with her initials on it. So she actually did meet Avery. I don't necessarily believe everything she says about Avery, but maybe I'll do a video and just go through all that evidence and correct myself, since I did put it out there a few times that I didn't believe that she actually met him. Hello, Michelle Stafford.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Disco. Hi, saw someone else in here. Diane and Miss Piggy.
3 more thumbs up needed. Why just 3?
Is it so it's even with how many people are watching, maybe? So yes, hit subscribe, hit the like, hit the little alert bell. I'll come back and do another live sooner or later. I get a little nervous. That's why I haven't done one in 2 weeks. Actually, the decision from the appeals kind of put a damper on things, but I'm just going to keep going through the evidence that we have and what I know and what I see and what I think, I guess. So
And making corrections.
And making corrections on my own research too. So, yep. I can only know what I have seen, and as new records come out, we keep seeing new more information. We do not have the full record as the state had it, and as Kathleen most likely does. So we go as we learn. Why are you wiggling your head, Nosy?
Nothing. Just some background noise. That's all.
Oh yes, London Rally is August 21st, and where is that at? Where's that going to be? Yours, the London Rally, in London, I assume, but where in London?
And who's all going? Like, who's all going to be there?
Yeah, we hope that there's a setup for a live on Becca was talking about that. They were talking about sending out that banner to them. I would love to see that happen. So yeah, if you're in the London area, you should go to the rally on the 21st. It's somewhere in London. I'm sorry, I don't know where. I don't know. I knew it at one point. The Parliament, House of Parliament. Where are you guys doing it? Somebody tell me. Parliament Square. Okay. So Parliament Square, August 21st in London. Go to the rally. Give support to Brendan and Stephen, and justice for Teresa. And I guess I'm gonna head out of here, and so we're gonna say goodbye. We'll peek in another time.
Bye.
You guys all behave yourselves, even if it's behaving badly. All right.
Bye.